Eric Bieniemy is moving on to the Bears. Jon Allen also moving on. And Man of the Year, Terry McLaurin. All of this in this video coming up. Let's hit it. Welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. My name is Greg, and if you're new here, this channel is dedicated to the greatest franchise in the NFL, the Washington Commanders. Okay, well, maybe soon to be in the next couple of years. Just be patient, folks. Be patient. I know that there's people who are laughing about that, but guess what? It could happen. If you're down with that, please consider subscribing to this channel. And when you do, make sure you hit that notification bell so you won't miss another video release. With that said, let's get into today's video. So we're talking about first, Eric Bieniemy. Could he be moving on to the Chicago Bears? Whether there's been rumors going around that the Bears could be interested in Eric Bieniemy at the end of the season. Now, of course, the Bears are probably going to be interested and looking at either retaining their head coach, who, I think likely they're probably going to let him go somewhere else. But who knows? They may retain him. Things started off really poorly with the Bears, and then, of course, they had that game against the Commanders where it seemed like everything just clicked for them, and then suddenly, the Bears didn't seem that bad. And, I mean, who knows? The Bears could possibly win a couple more games by the end of the season. But I think that the Bears will probably wind up getting another head coach. And they could also, who knows? They could be looking at Eric Bieniemy. And maybe this is when Eric Bieniemy finally gets his first chance as a head coach for a team. I don't think he's going to be back in Washington next year. I really don't. I know that there's still some vocal people out there who want Eric Bieniemy back. I don't think he's going to be back, folks. I really don't think he's going to be back. Now, right now, these are just rumors, so take it for what it's worth. But, that's what we're looking at right now. I would probably wager to say that there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested in interviewing Eric Bieniemy at the end of the season when head coaching vacancies are here and they need to interview people. So, but right now, that is the first time that we have heard of another team, another franchise, possibly being linked back to someone like Eric Bieniemy. So there you go. My personal thought on this is I think this would be a good opportunity for EB. Because the thing is that it's highly doubtful that a head coaching regime is going to come in and will retain Eric Bieniemy, because they are probably going to want to have their own coaching staff they're going to want to hire. I really believe that Josh Harris is going to try to make things more of a traditional sort of thing, where right now that they're already looking at general managers from the other rumors that we're hearing, and that the search for general managers seems like that's really intensified. They want that general manager in place hopefully by the end of the season, and then that general manager will be the one tasked to go and find the next head coach, and then the head coach will be responsible for hiring his staff. So I don't believe that Eric Bieniemy, unless that head coach happens to have ties back to Eric Bieniemy, I think that would be the only way that he gets retained. So, but we'll wait and see, folks. Who knows? Maybe EB does stick around, but I really do think that EB probably does get moved on. Hey, another guy that we have heard, we haven't necessarily heard rumors that he's moving on, but, he may have started the rumors inadvertently himself. Jon Allen. Jon Allen was interviewed by the Sports Junkies on 106.7, and he talked about that, 1,000% he's thought about, a trade and moving on from the Commanders because he's tired of losing. He wants to win. He's been here 7 years, and he wants to be able to win. I mean, you can't blame Jon Allen on one hand because, you hopefully, as a professional football player, your number one goal is to win a Super Bowl. You want to be a winner in the league. You don't want to be on a losing team your whole entire career. So I get that. I think that also, though, when you're speaking to the media and you're really starting to be verbal about a lot of this, then I think that carries a lot of weight, right? I don't think that if you are not serious about moving on, that you wouldn't say it. I hope I said that right. I know that some people are like, you didn't listen to the rest of the interview where Jon Allen said he wants to play out the rest of his contract and he wants to be a Washington football player the rest of his career. Well, Kirk Cousins said he wanted to be in Washington for the rest of his career too. Kirk Cousins went to Minnesota. And, of course, he's saying the same thing from Minnesota. And who knows? He may be gone from Minnesota once his Achilles injury is healed. So I would put more emphasis on the fact that he's talking to the media and he's being a little bit more open to the fact that he has entertained ideas in his head about wanting to be traded and wanting to be, moved to a team because he has seen Chase Young move to a potential Super Bowl contending team. And, Chase Young right now, kind of up. He looks like the Chase Young that could possibly be the Chase Young that was rookie of the, defensive rookie of the year. And then after that, it was like Chase Young, who was an empty shell of himself. So, for him to go to a team that he could possibly wind up getting a ring with, I think there's probably a little bit of jealousy there with Allen. I mean, who knows? I'm not going to speak for Jon Allen because I don't know what's going on in his head other than what's being verbally said. And what I can gather from that is, eventually what is thought in your head is going to come out through your mouth. And I think it's coming out through Jon Allen's mouth right now. I would not doubt, folks, if you do not hear something in the offseason about a trade. And now I know some people are like, look, we've already traded Chase Young and we've traded Montez Sweat. You want us to trade all of our good players? I don't want us to trade all of our good players, but folks, have we really heard much from Jon Allen or Daron Payne in the last couple of games? I mean, they've been mostly silent. If you have heard anything from those two, you may have heard a little bit from Daron Payne, but I mean, Jon Allen's been mostly kind of silent there. So, maybe it may not be such a bad idea to consider trade options because if you're picking up more high-round draft picks, that gives you an opportunity to continue revamping, rebuilding this franchise. And the more draft picks, higher round draft picks that you have for this team, the faster it is you're going to be able to rebuild this team. It's going to be younger, and that's going to be a whole lot more attractive for the next head coach coming in here. And finally, folks, Man of the Year nominee Terry McLaurin. Couldn't happen to a better player. Terry McLaurin, he has been the captain of this team for several seasons now. It's so disappointing that he got a lot of cardio on Sunday, probably cardio I need to get, quite frankly. But Terry McLaurin, fantastic guy, fantastic team player. I haven't heard anything about him wanting to be traded or anything like that. I'm sure that he could go to any other team and he could be highly successful. I think that he has pride of wanting to stay in Washington, and he wants to be a part of a team that has a new beginning. And I know that he's probably seeing that he needs to be patient. Hey, he's already been through changes, right? He was a Redskin. He was a football team player. Now he's a commander, which means, he has seen Jay Gruden. He's seen intern coaches, and Ron Rivera. Now he's likely going to see a new head coach. So he's going through so many changes in Washington. But he's still being the consummate professional. And that's somebody that you really want to build around. I know a lot of fans are like, I'm already saying he's not a number one wide receiver now. He's now the number two. I've given up on him being an elite guy. And it's mind blowing how so many fans give up on these guys so quickly. You got to understand, folks, when you have a losing season and you have, I'm telling you, people don't realize how important a great offensive line is. It is the nucleus of your offense. If your offensive line is terrible, your whole offense doesn't work. People do not get that whatsoever. And when your offensive line is dirt, your wide receivers are going to suffer. Your quarterback's going to suffer. All of that play is going to suffer. Your running backs, everything. I mean, people don't realize a great offensive line, that is where you build your offense up front. You have a solid, top 10 offensive line, you're going to see a huge difference in performance of your wide receivers, your quarterback, running back, tight ends, the whole 9 yards. Maybe even play calling, because things can be more successful because you have the time to get the ball to these wide receivers. We talked about it. It's been the first time in years, I guess, that none of our wide receivers have had to pass to them more than 40 yards. And that's because, well, the quarterback has not had the time to sit back and throw the ball that long. He's been pressured so much that he has had to get the ball out of his hands much faster, which means receivers don't have time to run these go routes down the field. They just have to cut off their routes, or they have to run, shorter, shallow routes in order to get the ball. And so because of that, it's going to cut into your play calling as well, which you could also make the point with Eric Bieniemy. It's like, well, wouldn't that have also hindered his play calling? So are we also being a little rough on Eric Bieniemy? It's a very good point as well. It affects everything. So having said that, I am still very high on Terry McLaurin. He is still one of my most favorite Washington Commanders players. And I think that he's going to have a nice rebound season next year, when hopefully we focus on rebuilding that offensive line, mostly hopefully through the draft, through free agency, however that we can beef up that offensive line, that we focus on doing it, and we get the offense, we get Sam Howell some help up front, we get some protection, and things start really cooking. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, give it a share, give me a comment, let me know how I did. And with that said, I hope you enjoy your day, and hell to the Washington Commanders. I'm going to say that with a straight face at some point. Let's go Maniacs, and I will see you in the next one.